the Midwest, you know the best is there waiting. So come and join the conversation. Eisner approved, fan and artist and creator too. This is how the challengers do. What? Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. It gets hard, then it's a job for the challengers. What? Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
W. Dal Bush.
Dal Bush.
Del Bush.
Dal.
Del.
W. Dal Bush.
Not to be cliche like everyone else on social media this last 24-hour period, but Dal, another C2E2 is in the books. It's all done.
What book?
It's over.
Where's this book?
The record book.
There's no record book. No one's keeping score.
Yeah, it's a fight between Fan Expo and Reed Pop and GalaxyCon.
They don't publish. They're not publishers.
Well,
you
haven't looked. There's like if you go to each of their blogs, they post like fanfic results.
Well, it's not a record book then, is it? Fanfic results?
it's a blog.
Okay.
It's official. It's official.
It's blog. Yeah, C2E2 2025 is all wrapped up. I'm assuming they won't be doing another C2E2 anytime this year, so I think it's safe to say that C2E2 25...
Did they even announce when next year's dates are?
I don't think they did, but they don't usually do it at the end of the show. They're not TFCon.
I thought they usually did at the end of the show.
Oh, I don't know. Let's look it up.
I feel like it's always the thing that we know by the end of that specific...
Patrick, for you, I will get on my cellular telephone and I will look it up.
What did I do to deserve that kind of behavior?
2026.
You can say loyalty, but it really isn't loyalty. You're not taking that out of loyalty.
Are you ready for it?
Yep.
March 27th to the 29th, 2026.
A whole month? Well, no.
It's like 2 weeks earlier.
2 weeks earlier. Yeah. Okay.
I appreciate them staying out of the way of our 18th anniversary.
Yeah. Jerks. Oh, wait. What?
Too late.
I don't know. It was obviously not the right phrasing to say it was in the books.
No, it wasn't.
Because, no, it's fine. That part I'm fine with. That it's everyone who posts that is somebody that had tabled or exhibited.
Sure.
And we didn't do that this year.
We didn't.
We haven't in, I don't know, was this number 12 maybe?
Like this year?
Wait, no. I think they started in 2009.
Yeah.
So this would be 16?
I guess.
Okay. Yeah, we haven't set up in like 10 years.
A little younger than Challengers. So, Patrick, that leads me to something I was saying to you before we had recorded. So we haven't tabled in a long time.
Oh, no.
No, and so I don't want a table. I don't want to bring all of that crap.
Oh, thank God. Just for a little bit of context, Dal had told me before we started recording that there's something he wanted to mention for next year, but he wanted to gauge my honest reaction.
Yeah, I didn't want to talk to you about it, and then we would see if we wanted to talk about it on the podcast. I wanted to be like, let's see where this goes.
But he was afraid my reaction would be very negative, so I promised him that either I'd have a genuinely positive reaction, or I would just say, let's talk about this later. And immediately in my head, when you started talking, I'm like, he doesn't want to sped up.
No. However,
because I don't know that I could have just said, let's talk about this later.
Yeah, I mean, you could just say no. You could just be like, I don't want to do that.
It would be more than just a no.
I have no interest whatsoever in loading up a van full of crap and selling stuff at a show and dealing with all of that hassle for virtually no money. Yeah. My opinion on that has not drastically changed since we stopped doing it years ago when it almost sunk the store. But one of the things I was thinking about was kind of, is there something else we could do to take advantage of C2E2? Like, I mean, in both sense of the terms, like how can we maximize what Challengers gets out of C2E2? And then also, how can we leverage our relationships with C2E2 to get something out of it? And one of the things I thought about was like the fun experience for you and I think at C2E2 is getting to talk to people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one of the things you kind of can't do a lot of at the show really is kind of talk to people.
Yeah.
And I got to thinking, and I thought, well, I mean, we put conversation in our name. So what if, instead of like doing, here's a billion graphic novels for 25% off or whatever, what if we did essentially a small booth?
A lounge?
Not even a lounge, but like, I'm thinking about it almost in terms of like the Peanuts psychiatry sign.
Oh, sure.
Thing,
Yeah.
where it's just comics conversation. Somebody's there, you come up, let's talk about comics. We're not selling you anything. We're maybe promoting the store in the sense of like, hi, we're a shop in the North Side. But just a place at the show that is just about talking to people about comics. The thing that we like about being in the store, the thing that we like about the medium, getting a chance to just sort of talk to people. Like, maybe I'm there, maybe you're there, maybe someone else is there, maybe even one of our artist friends stops by and is just there, and they're not signing anything and they're not selling anything. They're just talking to people about comic books. I just thought that would be like interesting or fun, like unique to the show.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, you can just say, no, you don't want to do it. I mean, if you don't like.
Well, to back up a second.
Yeah.
When you had said that our joy of the show is talking to people, it's because for the most part, we get to pick who we talk to.
Sure. And that's fair.
We would not have that
but I think
at this booth.
I think it'd be kind of fun to talk to strangers about just comic books. Like, it's not like, I'll talk to you about whatever. It's like, if you want to talk about comic books, we're here to talk about comic books. What do you like right now? What's your favorite artist? Like, what are you looking forward to? I think that kind of stuff is fun. And I think it as like a promotional thing for the store, I think it speaks pretty well to what we try to do kind of all the time.
I'm not saying no.
Yeah. Just a thought.
It could be fun, but I definitely don't know that I want to do it for.
I'm not saying either of us would do it for
10
all 3
hours
days.
a day.
No. And like,
and I'm sure. I mean, we'd have to pay for a booth.
Well, that's the thing where we would probably need to talk to somebody at ReedPop and be like, look, here's what we want to do. What do you guys think of this? What could we do with this? Maybe there's some way to do it in a way that they would get something out of it and we would be able to maybe do it at a lower price point, because we're specifically saying, like, this is not a money-making idea. This is just something that could be a value add for people at the show, almost, you know?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
let's ignore it for right now.
Yeah.
Like, literally everything at C2E2.
Yeah.
Circle back after Free Comic Book Day.
Yeah, for sure. It was just a thought I had last night. I mean, like, the build-out would literally...
man, if you just want to talk to people about Kamen Rider, you can do that.
No, Patrick, comic books. I mean, Kamen Rider, clearly a graphic novel, sure, fine. And I would even allow the Kamen Rider Spirits untranslated Japanese manga, fine.
I definitely would not allow
But it
that.
wouldn't be the TV shows or anything.
Because specifically, you cannot read the untranslated.
Just comic books, got pictures of it. Yeah, the build-out would essentially just be something we would construct where it would be like kind of like that psychiatry, whatever. A little window, basically.
I mean, we need, comfy chairs.
Yeah, and then we would have whatever we would have behind the table,
Just so long as we're behind something.
Right.
So the riffraff can't come up to us.
Yeah, again, I don't want to do like an open lounge or whatever where people are just kind of wandering in and sitting down, and it's like, this is not what we wanted. But just like essentially like a little drive-through window where people could just walk up and be like, hey, I'm excited about the new Absolute Batman that's coming out. And it's like, cool, me too. I like Absolute Batman.
What if we had a like sliding window?
Sure.
And somebody like sits down, rings a bell, and we slide it open.
Sure.
It's like a comic confessional.
If you want, yeah. I mean, that would be pretty neat. I mean, it wouldn't be something where we would be stationed there like from open to close every single day. It's like...
It sounds like you would need that.
Well, again, like it would be something where we would be there for a chunk of the time. Maybe just you, maybe just me, maybe both of us. Again, or maybe we could talk to other people and be like, hey, do you want to stop by for like an hour or something and just like talk to people about comic books? Like half an hour or whatever. I mean, look, you go to anybody's table in Artist Alley, they're not there every minute of every day for the entire show. And I don't think anyone has an expectation that would be the case.
Yeah, I honestly don't foresee any of our employees or any of our creator friends wanting to do it. Every second they're not at their table, they're not making money.
Right, of course.
And as you say, they do walk around, but they do walk around with specific goals in mind.
I just think it could be kind of fun.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting they would do like full shifts or whatever, but somebody could stop by for like 10 or 15 minutes and be like,
where in the floor do you think this is?
No idea.
Where on the floor did you want this?
Oh,
Exhibitors, Artist Alley?
Not Artist Alley, because it's not what Artist Alley is for.
Right.
I mean, like, it doesn't even have to be like a prominent place. It could just be like around a corner or something. Like, probably not in the exhibitor section, because that's, higher trafficked areas. And
we would most likely need to spend significant money on signage so people did know exactly what it is.
Sure. We could come up with something.
And maybe have like a 5-minute time limit per person.
Sure.
Because, I mean, if we have a nice chair, like people would just be beelining for that chair.
The chairs aren't for them. They'd have to be at the window.
Oh, they're standing the whole time?
Yeah, basically.
Oh, I thought they'd get to sit down while they talk, because we'll be sitting down.
Yeah.
I'll be sitting down.
Yeah, I mean, logistically, there's definitely like questions to answer and things to figure out logistically, but I definitely think about it in terms of like, again, like a drive-through window. Like they're on one side, you're on another side. Yeah,
sure.
That was my thought.
Interesting.
I thought it would be a fun, unique thing to do at a show, to just basically be like, the thing that we like about our store is the ability to talk to people about comics. So let's just do that at the show for 3 days.
Yeah.
And really show off like how fun that can be, like what that is when you kind of strip away a lot of the show stuff from it and just make it like a little oasis almost.
Maybe we do a special C2E2 bookmark people get for having a conversation.
Something like that. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's promotional. Like we'd be saying like, hi, we're Challengers Comics. We're in Bucktown if you've got time after the show or whatever.
And they can give us the smallest booth possible. Like, got a 5x5? We'll take it.
Yeah, it doesn't need a lot of space. It doesn't need a high traffic area because again, like the whole point of this is to kind of not sell anything, so it doesn't matter where it is.
Interesting thought, Dow. Look at you, always thinking.
Always, occasionally thinking.
So that's C2E2 of 2026.
Yes.
Let's talk about C2E2 2025.
Patrick, you went for a couple days. Did you have a good time?
Well, we'll start with our goals, like we talked about a few weeks ago.
Goals?
You know, we both went together on Friday, and I shortcut it when people ask if we're going to be at the show. Like, yeah, we're going to be walking around as fans.
Right.
But really, regardless of us being there as fans or not, it's still a business situation for us. We are still mainly
representing Challengers.
Yeah, we're mainly walking up and down Artist Alley, talking to people, hopefully that we've never talked to before, that we've never even seen before, that we want to work with in the future, that has product that we could sell.
Sure. But also a big chunk of it is kind of catching up with people that we know in the industry that maybe aren't local to Chicago, that we want to keep in touch with, that we want to be able to hopefully work with in the future. And so, you know, stopping by their table and saying, hey, and catching up a little bit is a nice way to make sure that if you want to do a project with them in the future, it's easier to be like, well, we have a working relationship. It's not just some random stranger that I talked to 8 years ago.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
Some creators become random strangers that we talked to 15 years ago, but
I ran into a friend of ours that we've done stuff with before that doesn't live in Chicago a few times during the show. And by the final time, I'm like, hey, when the hardcover collection of this comes out, do you think about maybe come back to town? Maybe we do something for that? And they said that would be fun and they'd like to do that.
Nice. Was that Friday or Saturday?
It was Saturday.
Okay. Yeah, because we both did. We were there both on Friday for the whole day. And
whole day.
And then you were back on Saturday for most of the day.
Yeah, I got in a little late between like noon and 1, and then I stayed until pretty much 6:30, I think.
And I was there Sunday for a couple hours, but until the show floor shut down. I still didn't finish the entirety of Artist Alley.
No.
But I wound up running into a friend, and then with it being, I don't know if it was their first C2E2, but it was definitely my first C2E2 with them. And while they're not comic people, I did feel obligated to be like, hey, let me show you people that you would like.
Oh, sure.
So it was, we're going over to Ryan Brown. And then they bought Barfly. Like, then, well, we have to go see Kyle Stark, so you get that signed by Kyle as well.
True.
But it was just a bunch of, I ran into them when I was right by Tom King. So I'm like, this is Tom King. This is what he does. One of them had on a Malort jacket, so I had to bring them over to Jason Aaron. So Jason Aaron can see the Malort jacket.
He loves Malort.
He loves it so much.
He loves it.
So much. It's maybe a problem.
What a weirdo.
So that back half of my time there was jumping
playing
from
tour
people.
Guide.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. So I still never made it to like the last 4 or 5 rows of Artist Alley.
Sure.
It's funny because I see things like, Steens was there. I never saw Steens.
I never saw Steens.
Steens was in Row Z.
Oh, that'll do it.
I think Steens was next to Dave Scheid.
I saw Dave Scheid. I didn't see Steens though.
Steens is also all masked up.
Oh, okay. And honestly, like I said, no one's at their table 100% of the time for the show. So you could walk down the aisle 3 times and just happen to hit the 3 times that person was getting food, going to the bathroom, on a panel, going to and from the venue, whatever.
When we were going to Kyle Stark's table there'll be a lot of Kyle Starks in this podcast because
Sorry, everybody.
We hung out with Kyle a lot this weekend.
We did.
Multiple nights.
That's becoming a thing now for C2E2.
Yeah. Well, we
hang out with Kyle a lot at C2E2, and I like it. Kyle's a good guy.
And Kyle has such good stories.
He does. He's a good storyteller.
It's the way he tells his stories that he makes a mundane story very entertaining. But when we went to go see Kyle, he had a little bit of a line in front of his table, and I'm like, I don't want to cut in line. I don't want to wait. Let's go over an aisle and down and come back up. And in that aisle is when I did most of my schmoozing, most of my business card dropping off. Like I wanted to on Friday, and we didn't get a chance to, but I wanted to talk Court Howell.
So I have a Court Howell story.
Oh.
I'm walking down an aisle on one point on Saturday, and it's Court Howell's aisle, and there's not a lot of people. And I see Court Howell with her head down, sketching at her table. And so I'm like, hey, with my business card out, I'm Dallin from Challengers Comics, a shop here in Chicago. Just want to say we really love your stuff. First thing she says, I'm not Court Howell. I said, oh, okay, well, maybe I love your stuff too. I don't know.
Did that person have bright red hair?
No.
The difference between our two stories is I know what Court Howell looks like.
I don't. I saw a lady sketching at Court Howell's table and was like, clearly Court Howell, right? No, Court Howell's friend.
When I was talking
so maybe Court Howell's friend gave Court Howell the card.
Court Howell has a card. When I was talking to Joelle Jones, the assistant at her booth has a Post-it note that says, I'm not Joelle on it.
People got to do that.
But the best was Rachel Bard's table friend had a series of T-shirts. He
did wear the pink one on Saturday.
And on Sunday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
That said...
She's the artist?
Yeah, she's the artist. And it had an arrow that could move to point to whatever side Rachel was on.
That was the fun reveal because we saw the shirt and he was sitting...
To her left. Which, for us, he was sitting on the right. So the arrow was pointing towards her. And you had said like, oh, do you always have to sit on the left? And he picked up the arrow off of his shirt to show us that it was...
And rotated the arrow to show that the arrow was a decal that could face any direction.
Yep. Yeah, that's very clever. But yeah, so Court Howell, head down, sketching. I walked up. I did the whole, hey, I'm Patrick from Challengers. We have a store in the city.
Yep.
Big fan of your work. I asked her, because I was under the mistaken impression that all of Vault books stop being published as singles and will be finished in trades.
Sure, but that's not true.
And then next week's invoice, Lilith 3.
I mean, I FOC'd Money Shot #1 or whatever today. So that's, if that was ever going to be a thing, it's not a thing anymore.
So I asked her about that, and she said, Lilith will be 5 single issues.
Cool.
And then she's taking a break because there's another book she wants to do, but there'll be another volume of Lilith as well.
That's great.
And that she apologized for the delay. I said, don't worry about it. She's like, I just finished issue 4, but I did the whole, if you're ever, basically what we say is, if you ever are in Chicago
and you want to do something,
not tied to a show,
right,
and you want to do something, we'd love to do something with you.
Yeah. People find their way back to cities all the time. So we wanted to basically be like, this isn't a firm commitment. This isn't asking you to do something. This is just saying, if you're in the area and you want to do something, think of us.
Several creators from the Minneapolis area said, it's just a real quick train ride for us to get to you. Ben Piercy came up to us because he wanted to introduce himself to us.
Oh, that's right.
And it was a situation where obviously we know of him, but we didn't have to talk to him.
Right.
But we were talking to Xander?
It was Jeremy Hahn's table.
Oh, okay. While we were with Phil Sablik and Jeremy Hahn from Ignition Press. Ben Piercy came up to say hello, and I thought that was fun. This was definitely a show where I felt the most respected in what we do, what you and I specifically do, what Challengers does.
We were in a good store.
It was the most creator recognition we'd gotten, and it's always customer recognition. We walk around, and we have this situation that happens all the time where people come up and either shout like, "Hey, it's Challengers guys," or
I overheard oh, it's Challenger Comics. A bunch of times as I would walk past places.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't even be people like calling out to me that I knew or whatever.
Yeah, they were just mentioning it.
They
to
were
their
just
friend or
mentioning it.
whoever.
Because Friday of the show, I wore my red suit portions, red pants, red vest, white shirt. And then Saturday was red shirt, gray pants, gray vest. So I definitely was
Which is weird because normally you don't even do that.
True.
Like on the first professional day, you wear your sales shirt under a suit coat.
I frequently do. This year I decided not to.
And then if you go back on Saturday, you go back incognito.
Yeah. I didn't this time because like we were going to be doing something afterwards, and I just thought like, no, I'll represent the store still. It's fine.
What we were doing afterwards was just social.
I know, but like I was still going to be seeing a bunch of people, and it was just like, it's fine.
Even though
the times that I've gone incognito on the second day, I basically avoid Artist Alley. Like I'm just doing vendor stuff, or I'm just doing a specific thing. So like it is very in and out. It is very limited time span. This was like, I kind of knew because of what I was doing on Saturday, like I'm going to be there for a while, and I'm probably going to need to do Artist Alley again. And I should probably, again, represent the store well.
The most I saw of the exhibitor floor on Sunday was walking out with Christopher Mitten, going down aisles we hadn't had on before. I'm like, oh, look, there's some Silver Age books here. Look at that.
Yeah.
Look, some comics at a comic show.
Yeah, look at that.
How unique. How interesting. But even though it was a nice day out on Sunday, I deliberately wore my jean jacket into the show.
Okay.
Because I feel it's more of not a disguise, but it's not as easy to, I still had a vest on.
That's true.
But I had no tie.
Sure.
And I was wearing light gray pants, which I don't usually wear at the store.
That's true.
So it's not like I was invisible, but I wasn't immediately recognized. You know what? I don't know. I don't know. All I'm saying is that it was more beneficial on my second day than I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
Because I did talk to a lot of creators and give out a lot of cards.
Yeah.
And was stopped by other creators.
Sure.
We have a very unique addition to the store, a small Sean Von Gorman cutout of himself. That he is the creator of the Pedestrian.
Yes, which we have a pedestrian stand at.
Yeah, that he sent to us.
Yes,
and I had joked on social media that I had wanted his little cutout, and then when we passed his table on Friday, he was talking with somebody. But I did like I just want this. I'll take it. He's like, you take it, just take it. But I did not want to take it.
Yeah.
But he tracked me down on Sunday, I think while I was at Kyle's table, and brought it over to me. He's like, here, this is for you. So we now have it at the store. We will have it at the store. Yeah. It's not there yet. I'll bring it in next time I work. But I spent a lot of my time and most of my money on meeting wrestlers.
Yeah. How many did you do altogether? Was it 7? I'm not counting ones that you ran into. I'm talking ones that you paid money to get a picture with.
Oh, in that case, well, do you count the Outrunners as 1 or 2?
2.
Because there's only one ticket.
One ticket, one photo, but it was 2 wrestlers.
Okay. Well, it was 3 photo ops on each day.
Okay. So 7 wrestlers.
Yes. And then not counting Willow and, of course, Colt.
Right. Obviously not counting either of them.
Yeah. It's a thing I never really used to do. And like I always say that I've only ever paid for 2 like epic photo ops. Epic being the company, not my description of the size of the
David Tennant
and Kenny in the Bucks.
Sure. And you would do other ones. Like I think there was a minute where you were really you were hoping like Matt Smith would show up or whatever, and he just never did.
Yeah, well, we'd see how many doctors I would do.
Sure.
But since these are just like casual behind the table pro wrestling tees ones,
right?
I don't really count them as.
They're definitely not as expensive as the epic ones are, and they're also not as structured, which is both good and bad. It's good in that you can sometimes just like, oh, there's no line. Let me walk up and buy a photo op and just get the photo done. Or you can walk up and be like, oh, the line is incredibly long. Maybe I don't want a photo op.
Yeah, I will say that the Mina Shirakawa line was the longest wrestler photo line I've ever had to stand into.
We want Mina.
Doesn't everybody? And I could have just cheated on Sunday because I was chatting with Colt again, and he brought me over to meet Kyle Fletcher and Sky Blue. But I never want to be like, oh, you're here making money. Give me that for free.
Right. Did you give Sky Blue a copy of her Dio Powerbomb cover? Oh, wait. Never mind. Sorry.
No.
Whoops.
No.
She's not on the cover.
I didn't even bring it up because I'm sure
why
you
would
would
you
not even remember it.
Oh, my God. That would be the rudest thing to do.
So I did reference talking to her at an AAW show.
With local Liger?
And I will tell you what she said when we're not recording.
I love it.
But no, I actually had good interactions with all of the wrestlers I met, even the ones that I was worried did not speak English.
Yeah. Konosuke Takeshita is I wouldn't say fluent, but he's definitely a guy that can converse.
Yeah, we definitely had a conversation where I didn't feel like I had to tailor the way I talk.
Right.
But meeting both Konosuke Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher, these are two guys that are the future of the wrestling industry.
They really are.
And are both just highest quality of wrestlers in the ring today.
Yeah, I told Takeshita I thought he's one of the top 3 guys working in wrestling right now.
Yeah.
I think all of his matches have been great.
And I told Kyle Fletcher that he can make anybody look good.
Yeah.
He doesn't do bad matches.
No.
Yeah. So I mean that's entertaining. And then I would have met Willow Nightingale, but she was in the middle of a live stream.
No.
And the guy's like, well, she'll be done soon. I'm like, I'm not going to wait around.
No.
But while we were doing that loop around for Kyle, Willow was just walking up the aisle by herself. So I went up to her and I said, like, I don't mean to interrupt you on the con floor. I just wanted to say I'm a big fan. I went over to Pro Wrestling Tees, but you were in the middle of a live stream, so I didn't see you then. And I would never have the audacity to ask you for a photo on the con floor when you are here getting paid to take photos.
Right.
And she said, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I said, I hope you have a great rest of your show, which is, an hour later.
Right.
And thanks for coming to Chicago. And then she looked around and said, you can take a photo.
Aw.
And then she said, let's pretend you gave me directions.
Mm-hmm.
So we did a weird bit where we're both pointing in opposite directions and looking completely different places.
Yep.
And my friend Jess took a bunch of photos from that exchange.
Nice.
So that was.
Did you tell her that you're trying to live her motto, at least half of it? You're not smiling anyway, but you do believe that nothing matters.
I did not say that.
No. Well, maybe next time.
Also, she had a print in her hand that she'd bought, but it never turned around because I never see what it was. And I had a page of art from Lucky Devils in my hand, which I hadn't turned around either. So maybe she was wondering what I bought.
Maybe you guys could have had that conversation.
We could have. What did you buy? No, I didn't.
I didn't conversation at the convention. Can you imagine?
It's weird. I didn't want to stop her from
of course
enjoying this.
People are going places. They got things to do.
That's right.
I get it.
But we were also presented with the possibility of several upcoming
opportunities,
business opportunities, store opportunities, like things that we could work with people for the store, for
collaborations,
for 3 major companies. And while one of them was basically, and we're not going to elaborate on any of them because none of them are official.
No.
But one of them was somebody at a company saying, we need somebody for this, and someone else in that company saying, oh, you need challengers. And then the other 2 were very specific, like, we want challengers for this thing.
Yeah.
For these 2 things. So, yeah, we'll see. But it was also like I said, it was the first time earlier this year when it was the Comics Pro annual meeting, and we didn't go. We toyed with it. We almost did, and we may go next year.
Yeah.
But
the thing I told a couple of people was just that we always want to, and then some dumb thing happens several weeks before that makes it financially impossible to do it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, maybe not this year.
Or 2 years ago when I had tickets and could not go and had to eat the plane fare on that one.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not true. I did get. Yeah, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, but retailers always say like, oh, it's the best weekend of the year, the most invigorating weekend of the year. And I'm like, well, I've gone there before. I don't know how to feel that. I got it from this show. Like, I didn't, it's not like I'm like, I'm comics retail. Let's go. I'm ready.
Let's go, comic books.
But this is, after doing this for 17 and 34 and a half years, it's the first year that I'm like, oh, wait, no, there is a level of respect and integrity that exists in this industry, and especially towards our endeavor.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, we run a good store.
Yeah. Dal, what was your big takeaway of the show?
A big takeaway?
Sure. Whether it be like an emotion, a concept, or a physical thing you took away from this show.
I mean, I bought stuff.
Yeah, it was just basically leading up to your...
Oh, okay.
Dan
yeah,
Mora
I got a
sketch.
Dan Mora sketch.
Yeah.
Tell
the Dan Mora story. Tell the story.
Okay, so I'm going to have to put a pin in that for a second.
Okay. We actually have pizza coming to the podcastatorium, so
yes.
We're going to go eat pizza and get back to you in a second, but like in an hour for us.
Yeah, when you hear us again, we're going to have had pizza.
Yay. Okay, now that you're full of pizza.
So full of pizza.
And you've watched Doctor Who.
Did watch Doctor Who. I liked it. I thought it was okay.
I feel like those are two different things entirely.
No,
but...
I liked it. I thought it was okay.
Okay.
Is one cohesive review.
Okay. Did you have anything else to say about C2E2 from this year?
Yeah, I think you wanted my Dan Mora story.
Oh, right. I forgot that's where we were.
So, people who've listened to the podcast before might have heard me say that I've for a while, I've wanted to get a Dan Mora commission. It's the only commission I've really thought about. I like a lot of artists, but the idea of getting commissions isn't really something I usually think about.
You don't care for commissions that much.
No, but Dan Mora is a guy that's done a lot of tokusatsu style stuff. In fact, over the weekend, it was announced that he and Kyle Higgins will be doing Immortal Legend Batman, which is basically tokusatsu Batman, which is very exciting to me personally as a fan. So the idea of getting him to do one of my favorite Kamen Rider suits, Geats 9, was something I thought about as like, oh, if he's ever at a show that I'm going to, I would, approach him about doing a commission. But it wasn't anything more than that. I didn't track him down on Instagram or anything or whatever. But I looked at the C2E2 guest list and Dan Mora wasn't on it. And it's like, fine, whatever. So midway through the day on Friday, we were getting lunch. I went to go use the washroom, wash my hands, and come back to the table. On my way back to the table, I ran into one of our customers, Frank. And Frank, having listened to the podcast, told me that Dan Mora was at the show. He was not a scheduled guest, but he was in Artist Alley. And I thanked Frank and then chided him because he probably had cost me several $100s because I was now going to get a Dan Mora commission. And you and I got back to the table and I told you about it. And I'm like, hey, can you go on Dan Mora's Instagram and find out if he's saying what table he's at? Because if he's not on the guest list, I don't know where I'm going to find him. We went through most of Artist Alley and hadn't seen him. And
also, as far as the C2E2 Artist Alley list, for example, we had forgotten what table Jeremy Hahn was at, and we needed to get back to that to have a meeting. And when you pull it up, it just says, Jeremy Hahn, Artist Alley. So you can't look on the C2E2 site. It doesn't tell you where they're at.
So I think that was maybe just a thing of, if you look at the guest list, it's just going to say Artist Alley. It's not going to say anything more specific. But if you went to the Artist Alley page, maybe it would have had,
I was in the Artist Alley page. I scrolled down.
Okay, because in the past, that's where they've had it. It's you go that, and it'd be
in the past, they had a giant paper map
and you're
that would
great,
list everybody off and say.
Yeah.
So that's why we went to Instagram.
Yeah, you went to Instagram, and you said, it says it's a D10. And I thought, okay, well, we walked through ILD, and then I remembered early in the morning, or early afternoon, as we were walking through ILD, we'd passed one particular table, and the person didn't have a huge banner backdrop.
No banner, no signage, no...
The only signage was every table has a little white prepared placard that C2E2 does.
Yeah.
That'll say person's name or brand or whatever, and then the letter and number of the aisle and table. But we passed by a table that didn't have anything in the back, and I couldn't see the sign in the front because there were 6 people standing in front of the table. This is early on Friday when those aisles were just jam-packed. So I kept craning my head around to see if I could find out, what is the name on the sign, or, can I see who the person is behind? Eventually I'm just all right, I guess it's just nobody I care about. Dan Mora's table.
I saw the person. I've never seen Dan Mora.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know what Dan Mora looked like.
That's what it looks like.
I did not know his ethnicity.
Dan Mora Chavez.
Yeah. Didn't realize that Mora is not his last name.
Name, I think they call it.
And he wasn't selling anything.
So on his table, he did have original art that he was selling.
Okay.
And then a list of sketches,
commission prices,
whatever.
Yeah, it's hilarious because you even said, if you don't have a banner or a sign, like, I don't know who you are. I'm not going to stop at your table.
Yeah, I wasn't going to push past a group of 6 people to be like, who's this? Oh, no one I care about. But it was Dan Mora.
The one person you had wanted to see.
So literally the one person I would have made time to go see early in the day so I could get a commission. But anyway, so as soon as we'd finished eating lunch, I went over to his table and asked if he was...
I had a separate errand to run, so we split up.
Yeah, time was a priority for me because, when people have a commission list at a show, oftentimes they're completely filled up before the show even starts. If they're doing anything during the show, the sooner you can get on that list, the more likely you are to be able to actually get anything. At a certain point, they might just cap it and say, I can't do any more sketches over the weekend.
Or I'll mail this back to you in 6 months' time. Right.
So I went over to Dan Mora's table. Would you have done that?
Would you have taken the 6-month option?
Yeah, well, so I go over to Dan Mora's table, and I, ask if he's doing commissions, and I see the list, and he had a 9x12 headshot or a 9x12 bust. Patrick, question.
Did you have to wait when you went back? Was there a line?
No.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was nice.
You could clearly see his sign in front of the table.
Yeah, I could see it said Dan Mora, and I could see Dan Mora stuff on the table. I could see prints and original art, and I'm like, this is Dan Mora's table. So I had asked if I could get a commission done, and so I'm gonna paraphrase a little bit because his English was not super great. There's a little bit of a language barrier.
So was there a translator or a handler?
There was a woman who was sitting next to him, and she spoke a little bit better English, but it was still not she was not a natural English speaker.
Okay.
So basically, I'd asked if he was still doing commissions, and he said not for today, but he could put me on the list for tomorrow. And I said, great. Is it color or black and white? Because Kamen Rider Geats 9, it's a white, black, and red suit, and the red's kind of crucial, but not the deal breaker. But I prefer to have the red on it.
It depends, Dal. Let me tell you this part. It depends on what form.
Geats 9 is the form
of Geat, but I mean, his final form is the most white.
Geats 9 is his final form.
Okay, but fine.
Okay. I appreciate trying to play along.
Continue.
So he kind of shook his head no, and had some tools with him, but apparently didn't have any colored markers with him. So it was just like, this is just going to be black and white. And I kind of said well, I mean, I'm okay with it being something that you if there's a version of this where you do it at home and you ship it out, I don't need it this weekend. I don't need it right now. And then he really shook his head because he did not want to take any commissions home. I said, okay, I get it. Sure. So I'd said, I kind of a bucket list thing for me. I really wanted to get a Kamen Rider Geats 9. And then, kind of a skeptical look on his face. And so the woman who was next to him was like, can you write it down here? I'm like, sure. And so I wrote down my name and I wrote down Kamen Rider Geats 9. And he goes, oh, Kamen Rider. And he goes, okay. So I felt like I was in good stead at that point. I was not super worried about it. But the downside is I was getting on his Saturday commission list, which meant not only did I have to for sure come back Saturday to get that sketch, I had to pretty much wait the whole day. Because when you are on the Saturday commission list, it's done at the end of the day.
Yeah, sure.
It's not done at 2 o'clock. So that was that made my Saturday a little bit more time consuming.
Well, you could have gone later in the day for that very reason.
But then I didn't want to because I was worried about the Tanahashi thing.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah, I was going to
But he was signing till 4.
Right, but if I sat at home thinking I'll just go at 3 o'clock, but what if he's not there at 3 o'clock? What if he was there in the beginning of the day and then any number of excuses you can think of and suddenly he's not there? And it's but he was supposed to be. And it's but he's not. So I wanted to knock that out early. And then the consequence of that was that I then had to stay for 5 hours to wait for the sketch to be done. But it was, and it's beautiful, and I like it a lot, and I already got a frame in for it, so I'm going to frame that up in the next couple days.
You already have the frame, or you ordered a frame?
I already have the frame. I ordered the frame, and I already have it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's in my backpack.
It's quick.
It really is.
No, I believe you.
Okay.
That's modern technology. What can I tell you?
It's really something.
Is it a red frame?
It's not. It's just
would have pulled the whole thing together.
You're right. Maybe it might have. I don't know. I can always get another one. It was not an expensive frame.
So this is clearly your most expensive C2E2.
By far. There's probably years where I bought more Transformer stuff, and it's probably going to come close. The big purchase for me was the Dan Mora Geats 9 sketch, by far. But I also ended up buying an Art Adams art book from Essential Sequential that I got Art Adams to sign. I got to talk to him for a couple of minutes, and that was really nice. And then I picked up 2 Kamen Rider keychains from somebody who was doing some acrylic keychains in Artist Alley. And then I bought a whole bunch of Zenless Zone Zero crap. A print and a bunch of little acrylic standees that a couple different artists had done.
And what was the catch with the keyring standees that you were like, oh, how dare they? Buy 3, get 1 free.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. I forgot. Yeah, so if anyone's never played Zenless Zone Zero, it's a game where all the combat is done in squads of 3. You have 3 characters in your group, and you mix and match, and you exchange them out depending on what storyline you're doing, what mission you're doing, or whatever. But
are they kind of established groups, or you build your groups?
You build your groups. There are characters are drawn from different groups, but you don't have to use the built group. You can just pull a character from each faction and plug them in as needed, and you probably should. That's the way to actually progress in the game near the end stages. But anyway, so if you play one squad a lot, you're probably going to want those 3 characters. But the thing was, they didn't do like buy 2, get 1 free or whatever, or, you know, some discount. The discount was 3 and then 1. So it was like, oh, you got your squad. Now I get somebody else. Okay, great. But they're all good. And I, you know, if I hadn't spent a lot of money on Dan Mora, I probably would have gotten more of those because they were all very cool. And I like a lot of the characters in that game. So maybe next year, if I don't have some other dumb bucket list thing that to get done, maybe I'll be able to spend more money on this as they add another 12 to 15 characters to the game.
Inevitably, when Gabe Kidd is in a Kamen Rider movie, are you going to buy that poster?
So the poster I have for Tanahashi, he's not on it. And I bought, like, he was not like the star of the film. The star of the film is the Kamen Riders. And he's a lieutenant, and he's turns into a monster at one point and then gets murdered by Drive. Spoilers for a movie that came out in, I think, 2017.
Wait, so he's a bad guy?
He's a bad guy. He's a henchman.
Oh.
But yeah, there wasn't like a poster that has him on it because they just don't do that. Like, he wouldn't be a big enough name for them to put him on the poster. The ace of New Japan Pro Wrestling, Patrick, I know. I'm a Sakajizua.
Wow.
I mean, he was a big deal for them to get, I'm sure. Like, I'm sure he did a ton of promotion for them. He's a fan of the franchise and had been in some, like, music videos and some other stuff. But yeah, the movie posters are pretty much all just the costume characters. That's kind of it.
And his reaction to signing that poster?
So I had thought, like, oh boy, no one's going to get any Kamen Rider stuff. Like, you know, everyone's going to be in line for New Japan IWGP belts and 8.5 by 11s and all sorts of stuff. The woman in front of me was getting him to sign a Kamen Rider X8 Gash hat, probably the one that he used in the film, while posing with an X8 Gamer driver. It's like literally the person in front of me was like, yes, same fandom, exact same fandom. Nothing new for him.
And you're like, oh, I should have done those.
It was a good idea.
Those drivers, right?
I don't have, the one he used was the robot one, and I never got the robot one for X8. I only have like 2 or 3 of them. So if I had the robot one, I maybe would have like, oh, that's a really good idea. So there was a real fan in front of me. And I think that was, I don't know if there's anything else I was even planning on doing. Like, I definitely poked around a whole lot. I almost bought, there was a table that had some good stuff from the most recent Kamen Rider Gab, but I had already committed to the Dan Mora sketch, and it was just like, these are decent prices, and this seems like it'd be pretty fun, but I don't need it, and holy shit, I just spent so much money that I was not planning on spending this weekend, so I had to beg off on it.
Yeah, I get it. I can't go into detail because I don't know what years this might get to, but there was some stuff that I bought for me last year that I liked a lot, and then I realized, well, after the fact, I'm like, oh, I could get something like this for someone I know for Christmas. I'm like, oh, I'll do it at next year's show.
Right.
And so I went to that booth while you were at Dan Mora's table, and I got the thing I wanted, and then I found something else for someone else I know. I'm like, another Christmas gift. So it's nice to have 2 Christmas gifts knocked out in April. But then I'm like, oh, here's a third thing. For me, I have to stop.
Yeah.
I have to stop doing this.
Yeah.
It also made my bag heavier for the rest of the day.
Yeah, you don't buy light things.
No, and I had one of the first things I did at the show this year was go to CGC, which I've never CGC'd comics before. Mm-hmm. You have CGC'd a book last year.
I did. I did my Kamiko Primer #2, my first Prince of Grendel, specifically because I was cleaning stuff out and I'd gone through a box of comics just to see if there was anything I could bring back to the store or just, get rid of somehow. And I saw that I still had the first 2 Prince of Grendel, and it was sitting in a My Light that I had bought it in 30-something years ago, probably. And I just thought I should get this graded so I can sell this, because I can't really sell it without being graded. It's too valuable of a book and too specific of a first appearance that I don't think anyone would buy it on eBay if it wasn't graded. I would get a million questions about can you take pictures from every single angle?
Yeah, exactly.
If I get it graded, it's $50 or whatever, but you can just say it's an 8.2 or whatever, and people can decide if they want it from there.
$50 or whatever. The or whatever is my experience.
Yes. Yeah.
Because
mine was easy because my book was from 81 or 82.
Yeah.
So it fit into a real modern range for them. And it's just this is it. And then this is how much it's going to cost to grade it. And this is how much it's going to cost to ship it back. And you're done.
The books I brought in were a little bit older than that. They were from 1962 and 1963. Mm-hmm. And CGC had a very sophisticated setup, but a lot of people helping, and it was very easy, and it was streamlined, and it was all there were plenty of people helping you.
I think they had a smaller setup, it looked like to me, this year than last year.
But
I think they had more laptops and stuff last year.
They had a lot of laptops this year.
Yeah, I think last year they had more. I feel like they had more last year. Maybe they just configured them in a more, I don't know.
Last year, I think it was
way.
a square, and this year was a rectangle.
Maybe.
But I mean, they had a giant booth where the grading is being done inside of that.
Were they? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it took an hour to get these books graded because I didn't realize. Well, first of all, I was piggybacking off of your account.
Yeah.
Then I didn't realize I could have done the prep work at home.
Yeah. Well, so some of it we couldn't have done because I don't think we understood what we were really doing.
That's fair.
We got to the booth because basically we walked into C2E2 on Friday, looked to the left, and there was a CGC booth, and it's well, let's just do this now. Instead of walking up and down all these different aisles and then coming back later in the day, let's just get this thing done. So went over to the CGC booth, and this year they were doing a virtual queue where it wasn't even just you stand there and then you eventually go in. It was you put your name down and then we will notify you when you can come back and work on this.
Yeah, when you come back and get in line.
Right. But it was 6 minutes.
That's true. We weren't very far
from when we had put in the virtual queue that I got a text saying come back to the booth. So we basically went down one aisle and had turned left, and then it was okay, now go back. And then we got there.
Quick chat with author Christina Henry first.
Yes. So we get back to the CGC booth, and the basic setup was the same for me. You log into the account, you go to this page, you start filling stuff out, but
there's categories.
Yeah, again, my book was super simple because it was a modern era book, so it didn't need a lot done to it. It wasn't a signature thing. It wasn't from a pedigree collection or whatever. It was just, Kamiko Primer 2. You go to this thing, you scroll down, Kamiko Primer, boom, 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 you're done. Yours were older and more valuable, so you went into a completely different tier.
2 different tiers.
Yeah, and so we needed a helper from CGC to walk us through it because we did not understand kind of what we were doing, what it was trying to tell us to do. And one of the weirdest things about it, that I'm sure people who have done grading and done high value books before, this is just commonplace for them. But the thing that I was almost this is a scam, was the amount of money you have to pay to get a book graded. One, it goes up based on kind of how old it is,
yes.
Which I can sort of understand because it's, more delicate, more valuable, whatever. But the fact that if you're at the highest tier, the amount of money you pay to get it graded is a percentage of the fair market value, which is insane to me.
So
because,
once they grade it.
Yeah, and you find out what the grade is, because when the guy at the booth had told us this, I'm how do we know what the fair market value is? He's well, you look it up online. And it's okay, but we don't know what the grade is.
Yeah, and that's a huge difference.
Yeah, you're talking about a range that could be thousands of dollars different. And it's I'm not going to guess it's the higher grade. I'm not a professional grader.
So I already paid $300 to get these 3 books graded. and now I'm going to have to pay for 2 of them because Amazing Spider-Man 3 was in the vintage.
Yeah, you didn't even say what books they were.
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Storytelling.
Okay.
Amazing Spider-Man 3 was in the vintage category.
Yes.
So I don't know if that's the percentage.
That was not the percentage one.
But I can't remember what they call the highest.
Money bags. The money bags.
The money bags level. Then you have to pay 4%
of the fair market value.
The fair market value. And he made a point of saying, regardless of what you paid for this book.
Which I think is the scam part. Because it's like, look, I get it if you went and you bought a raw copy of something online and you paid X amount because that's what it's going for now in 2025. But this is from your personal collection, Patrick. You bought this with your brother
many years ago
and did not pay anything what the fair market value is now because you paid the fair market value of like the 1980s or 90s.
I'm going to tell you that I've already paid more in the grading than I did for these books.
Yeah, it's like you got penalized
for having a good book.
Yeah, this is like some weird like inheritance tax where like, oh, you got away with it before, now you're going to pay for it now. Like, why? You didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, the
4% thing, based on not what you paid for, but what it's going for right now, feels like such a scam.
Yeah. That's what I always thought CGC was.
A scam?
That you pay a percentage.
I never thought that.
So I never did it before.
That makes no sense to me.
But since your experience was so easy last year, I'm like, oh, we'll definitely do this. And at first I chided my brother because he still got a half box full of the good stuff. Squirreled away in a very safe place.
Keep it squirreled away.
But these 3 books were in a safe deposit box.
Yeah.
And I expect to get hit with several hundred more dollars for these.
It's just, it's like they want their cut of what? Like, you haven't sold it yet.
Yeah.
What are you getting a cut of?
Their grading process it doesn't cost them anything different.
No, all the 4% fair market value thing is saying is, well, you're going to make money off of our doing this, so we should make some of that money. And it's like, you were.
I'm not selling these.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because you could sell it and you could get a bunch of money for them. Therefore, they should get their cut preemptively. And it's everything about that. If I had gone to the show last year and they were like, well, it's 4% of what this book is going for right now, I would have been like, go fuck yourselves. I would have turned around and walked away and told multiple people, do not go to the CGC. This is a total scam.
Of all the books that I have in a collection, Amazing Fantasy 15 and Amazing Spider-Man 1 are the ones I would grade.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Like, I can understand
also,
grading
probably Avengers 4 if I ever find that.
I can understand grading it just as a way of keeping it safe, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that would be the main thing. And you can just buy slabs, I guess.
Here's the thing, though. There's also, each time it's, now, did you want this pressed and graded or just graded?
Mm-hmm.
Pressing is an extra $30 per book.
Also, they were like, and you didn't want to do the on-site grading?
Oh,
really?
Yeah, but also I didn't want to spend an extra $120 for pressing.
Yeah.
And the on-site grading. Well, it's so fast. You can just get it, later today.
Again, could there not be a tier where you're like, I'm not selling this?
Yeah.
Can you give me the I'm not trying to flip this for a whole bunch of money tier? Like, is that a possibility where somehow
it's
within this transaction we can acknowledge that comics might have value beyond what you can sell them for?
It's the safest if you get it done on site and you get it back later today. Yeah, not safest for me that I got to carry those around with me the rest of the day.
Jesus, yeah.
But also, remember she said, oh, these are the fastest. They'll have these done like in the next hour. Gotten any emails about those?
No, I have not.
Right? So yeah, that was my CGC experience. And I obviously don't have the books back yet, but
no,
they're going to call and tell me how much extra I'm going to owe.
It's exciting. So now they're holding them hostage, I guess.
Yeah,
that's
basically.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So my
Fun
show
experience.
was also way more expensive than I expected.
Yeah, but at least, I don't know if we mentioned this, but you got to knock out your major stuff pretty much within the first couple hours on Friday.
We went right from there to Pro Wrestling Tees
because we just walked down because I think when the first time we walked down the aisle, we were like, oh, they're in the back left corner, and then we had to go back to CGC. So afterwards, it's like, I don't know, let's go back and see if anyone's there. And everyone you wanted to see on Friday was there.
Yeah, that worked out.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Moving on from C2E2.
Okay.
The other big industry news for the week, which this is just bouncing up and down and changing from a day-to-day basis. Who is going to legally buy Diamond Comic Distribution?
I think it's officially Alliance now.
It is officially Alliance now.
It was almost not Alliance for like 48 hours.
Yeah. There were lawsuits involved. There were, at the last minute, Diamond had said, no, we don't want Alliance Entertainment to buy us. We would rather be Universal and Pop.
It's like Ad Popumum or something. I don't know. I can't remember the name of the other company, but Universal basically.
And if you looked at it on paper, the bids were not that much different.
Yeah, technically, and this is what ended up, the technicality is what ended up putting it in favor of Alliance. The Alliance bid was higher. But the way I think the deal was structured and just in general, I guess, what the companies were doing, Diamond decided they would rather be owned by Universal, and by that point it was too late. Because the higher bid was Alliance, and that was it.
I guess the joke of this is that Alliance had approached Diamond back in like October about just outright buying them.
Yeah.
But they did not want to sell. And then they went bankrupt and had to sell.
I'm sure they didn't want to sell.
Spent a ton of money on that company to come in and reorganize their bankruptcy.
Yeah.
So they could have saved themselves a lot of money.
Sure.
Made a lot more money if they just sold.
Yeah.
So no one knows anything about when, how, what.
I mean, there's
is this the last free comic book day we'll ever have?
Again, no. And like people had brought that up in the store, like, oh, well, Diamond's going away. Does that mean free comic day? Like, free comic book day already didn't need Diamond. Like, Penguin Random House is distributing stuff. Lunar's distributing a bunch of books.
Well, the legality of it is the name.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that you or I couldn't do free comic book day as a thing every first Saturday.
Sure.
Maybe we'd have to call it the big game instead.
Call it Free Comics Day.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And they have a bunch of stand-ups.
Yeah. Like the overall infrastructure is not something that we as a store in our 17th year, 18th year, need at this point from Free Comic Book Day. Like, we've been doing it long enough that I don't know that a lot of people realize that Free Comic Book Day is a thing that other stores do, or other cities do, or other states do.
Yeah, it's like whenever there's a Batman Day or Superman Day, which is this week?
April 18th. No, April 17th?
17th. It's
18th.
The 18th
it's the Friday.
This Friday.
Yeah.
Superman Day.
Yeah.
What are we doing for that?
I don't work Friday.
Yeah, nothing. We're not doing anything for it.
We've got some of the exclusive Superman Day books that'll be on the shelves that Friday. The Golden Age size reprints of Action Comics #1, including a cover by Dan Mora.
How's that a Golden Age reprint? He wasn't even alive back then. Doesn't make any sense.
I don't know if he was or wasn't.
Time Machine?
I didn't ask.
Pretty sure he wasn't alive in the 1930s.
Again, I didn't ask. The language barrier, Patrick. You understand.
That's fair. I had made some more new shelves for Sidekicks, and there's still 2 more to be built.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of moving parts. And longtime shoppers may remember we had a full-size cardboard TARDIS in Sidekicks briefly. And I was so excited to order it and to get it. But realizing just how big a TARDIS is from the outside.
It's so big.
It's so big.
You think it's bigger on the inside, but sometimes it's bigger on the outside.
So after a while, we're like, we can't, it's taking up too much space. We can't have it. So I collapsed it and made it like a 2D TARDIS.
Yeah, like you were just looking at like an archway almost.
Yeah,
you know?
like the front of it.
Yeah.
And after a while, even that had to go because it was by a leaky front door and it kept getting wet at the bottom.
Yeah, it was made of cardboard.
Yeah.
So the bottom became sort of unstable.
So it actually lived for a long time in the back hallway. There was a section right by our furnace room where it fit perfectly in a little alcove.
Yeah.
But just over time, it just kept deteriorating, and every time I'd pull a cart by, I'd clip it a little bit.
Sometimes the hallway would flood.
Yeah. So this week, after running into it for the last time, I sent it away. I tore it to pieces and threw it in the dumpster. And very early this morning, whilst I was still in bed, Nina from Black River Barbershop texted me and said, "Hey, where did the phone booth go?" She never knew what it was to begin with.
Sure.
But she recognized it as a phone booth because it said, please call us on it. She said, "Where did the phone booth go?" And I answered very abruptly, "It's a time machine, Nina. It went somewhere else in time."
Mm-hmm.
It went in the trash.
Time trash.
I didn't. I just tore it apart. You know how it gets when it's like, "God, for the last time." Literally the last time. So there were big bits sticking out, and then the lantern on top was the last piece.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, should I save it? Oh, it's so full of dust. No, it's going in as well.
And dead bugs, probably.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, probably. So it's so weird having that now exposed yellow wall.
It's a little strange. I having known this, I think, ahead of time and looking back there, your eye just sees all this yellow now, yeah.
I may just put up a bunch of promo posters in that area.
There you go.
Do something. But yeah, 2 more of the shelves are made. I've got 2 more to go. There's a lot of work to get done before Free Comic Book Day. We want Sidekicks to look its best, which is ironic because
all that stuff's going to be out of there.
Well, just not. It's all going to be condensed,
right,
and moved around. Since we're having the Free Comic Book Day and then Chillin' Like a Villain art show night. We're going to have to, the art show runs from 6 to 10. Free Comic Book Day is 11 to 5. Then we close for an hour to
reset the room of Free Comics into the room of art.
Yeah. But the art's still on the same racks. So after 10 is when you and I are going to have to rebuild that whole room.
I guess. I mean, what we can maybe do is, depending on what the attendance is like, maybe sneak some stuff in and start moving some stuff around kind of ahead of time.
Yeah, but I mean, the art is on those racks, and
I know
that's those will just get dragged out to the garage and live there for a minute until
or the back hallway or whatever. Who cares?
It'll be the garage because that's just the easiest.
Okay,
those are when they're completely
fair enough
made. Last year we did a thing where we left the shelves up for Saturday for leftovers and whatever.
For Sunday, yeah.
Yeah, Sunday.
Because every single year without fail, no matter how many weeks and months we spent advertising Free Comic Book Day, the number of people that will come in on Sunday and be like, "When's that Free Comic Book Day?" Yesterday and you missed it. That you had decided, like, why don't we just leave the books up for a day so that people can still grab them the next day?
Did you then have to tear everything down by yourself on that Sunday?
I don't remember. I honestly don't remember.
Because we could do that again.
No. We'll play it by ear.
Yeah.
It depends on how many books are left. It depends on how we feel about it. Yeah.
Another one of the things I'm going to have to do ahead of time is to, once we know exactly how many pieces we have for the art show, know how many of the frame prints we need to take down in Challengers to be able to hang the art.
Yep.
Where that's going to go. And we need to, and honest to God, I was thinking of just using a roll of toilet paper. We need to cover all of those $35 frame print signs because we don't want those signs being under the artwork.
Sure.
And I don't want to take them down and put them all back up again.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, toilet paper I don't think would work because it's too thin.
Yeah.
And you'd see right through it. But
just because it was a roll of thin paper that size.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with just getting like a roll of paper from like art supply store or something.
Well, no roll of paper is like that thin. I may just put up.
But I mean, even if it's longer, if it goes lower, it's fine because it's behind all those signs. I don't care if it's a foot high.
I may just use individual pieces of paper, tape over it because paper's white.
Yeah, I was thinking that, or like boards or whatever. You could do anything like that. But I wouldn't want to have to do, 20 of those because it's like that's kind of defeating the purpose. At that point, you might as well just take the signs down. But if you could run a thing of paper over it, it's very fast.
We're already going to have signs made up for each individual piece of art that'll be hanging on the rack somehow.
Right.
So we'll just transfer that onto the paper and whatever. Yeah, there's so much to do before that.
Yeah.
And we have Gene Ha this weekend, which will already be over by the time this goes up. We were doing a portfolio review with it, but no one signed up for that. I don't know what to expect for a Gene Ha May signing when he was specifically at C2E2 with May.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what that audience looks like.
Yeah. But at least we kind of have a built-in excuse if it doesn't
Sure.
do well.
It's like doing a Superman comic book giveaway day 2 weeks before Free Comic Book Day.
Right? And months before the movie is out.
Mm-hmm.
And I did want to print up little giveaway sheets for Free Comic Book Day for the Blades of Furry and Crypto signings.
Mm-hmm.
We still don't have a set time for Blades of Furry.
Sure.
We have a date.
Sure. Well, we could do up, just a temporary quarter sheet and then just plug in stuff at the last minute. And then just probably, at that point, we'll probably have to just get FedEx to just cut them.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, it'll just be like, it'll split in half, but with the QR code in the middle because it goes to the same page for both of them.
Sure.
Yeah. Crypto signing in June 25th, I want to say. Complete with a crypto and Blades of Furry.
Nice.
On the Saturday after Free Comic Book Day, whatever that is.
Sure.
Or
the 10th.
Yeah, that sounds right. So that's what we have coming up. A lot of work, a lot of internal work to get stuff done.
Mm-hmm.
First, a quick window story before we go. We have the front window right by the front door. All of our entire west wall is glass
mm-hmm.
and metal frames and glass with a few stone pillars in between every one door and 3 frames of windows. Yep. So it's double pane glass, thick glass, double pane, makes it real hot when the sun sets, but it's all glass, mm-hmm. right? Ceiling to floor. Like there's no ledge at the bottom.
Yeah.
It goes right down to the floor.
Yep.
Something is wrong with the seal in the first section because we've got condensation inside the first window, and that makes it cloudy.
Yep.
And
the cloud is growing.
And the cloud is definitely growing. And one of the things that I've read, I'm like, how do you get rid of this? Well, if you could somehow heat it up to evaporate that,
mm-hmm.
that could work. So I brought in a hairdryer. Hairdryer's not hot enough.
No. I mean, considering like how hot the front windows can get generally,
yeah,
I don't know if there's anything we have that would actually be more efficient at distributing heat than the sun.
I thought about a heat gun, and Donovan even pointed out there's a tool exchange where I could go rent one.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I looked into it, it's like never use a heat gun on that kind of glass because it'll just shatter.
Yeah. Woo.
Yeah.
Thanks for looking that up.
So, all right, we're not doing that. So I'm like, all right, let's bring out a professional to see what our options are.
Mm-hmm.
Dal, what are our options?
Completely replacing the window. That's it.
And what would that cost for the one window?
Do you want the actual dollar amount?
Yeah.
$1,700.
$1,700 to get rid of.
That does not include the graffiti film that we had applied to the windows that we would then have to apply ourselves through a separate procedure afterwards. Right. So that would be an additional expense.
A couple $100 and whatnot.
Yeah. To get somebody to come out and do graffiti film on that window.
So we're living with that cloudy front window.
Yep. Hopefully it'll turn into a fun cloud shape. I don't know, maybe the penguin, maybe like crossbones. I don't know. Who knows?
Did you notice though, it's kind of like, since we started hanging event flyers in the front window, mm-hmm. it kind of goes around the last one. Like there's almost like a little outline of where that
noticed, but I'll take a closer look tomorrow.
And I thought, oh man, the shelf sponsorships, which have been paying for the new shelves I've been building.
Yes.
I don't want to, we don't have anywhere near enough to pay for a $1,700.
No.
B, I don't want to do it for that.
No. I like getting the window fixed, regardless of how it's done, is on the list of things that I want to do. It's a lot lower on the list of things I want to do than a bunch of other stuff that is more crucial to the store's economics, really. Like, this is the thing where I want to get it fixed because it's kind of an eyesore, and I don't like the way it looks. The thing is, it doesn't impact the way we sell books, and more than that, I don't think most people notice or care.
No, and people will look at it now and point at it because we called it out.
Yeah,
but
there's 3 people listening to this podcast, so they'll probably point it out and make a joke about it when they come in, and that's fine. It's fair game. But it's not the sort of thing that we would need to do that. Like, doing that wouldn't suddenly make sales go up in the same way that replacing shelves or whatever and sidekicks would hopefully be a revenue boost, or other things that internally we might use the money for to, like, stock more books or start a new account someplace or whatever. Like, the money should go to things like that. And then when all those things are done, then we can think about, like, oh, maybe we do something with the window. So, yeah, I I don't see it happening. Assuming $1,700 is the best and only price, I don't see it happening this year.
No.
I'd like to do it at some point, but some point could be any time in the next few years. It doesn't mean it's got to be today. I will change my answer if the cloud grows to a degree that entire first window
is obscure,
is opaque. Or that would be the point where I'm like, we got to fix this.
Or it somehow grows into a giant phallus.
Yeah, or like a swastika or something.
Yeah,
be like, oh no, we got to fix this.
Then I'm just painting that window.
Yeah. Or if it like somehow if that became like a structural problem, then it would be like, no, we need to do this right now.
Yeah.
But if it's just like an aesthetic thing, I dislike it, but I'll live with it for the time being, knowing that money is going to better places that people would get more value from.
My question is how are they replacing both pieces of glass? You don't need to. You take the seal out, and then like all you got to do is just clean those panes of glass and then reseal it. I mean, because the problem is the seal is broke somewhere where moisture is getting in.
You wanna call that company again and come back out, and you can explain it to them. See what they say. I flat out said, "Is there anything else we can do?" And I got the Dan Mora head shake. And it's like, okay.
Would you be more inclined to pay the $1,700 faster if it was Dan Mora who was fixing the window?
I'd be less inclined because he does so many books a month. How would he fix the windows in a good time frame?
Well, A, I assume he's as fast at Windows as he is otherwise. B,
I know he's committed.
But once we know when he's doing it, we could have people show up. Like, hey, Dan Moore is going to be here. Oh, well, and they'll buy stuff.
Yeah, but then
they can't. No signing.
Okay.
They won't know that though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I like that plan.
All right. Excellent.
Next time he's in town from Costa Rica, I think.
Yep. Thanks for listening.
Keep reading comics.
So what Sky Blue said was, oh, AAW? Yeah,
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. And help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.